Hello, boys and girls. How are you? Hello, boys and girls. How are you? How are you, Abigail? I've been waiting all day to say hi to you. Thanks for watching tonight. Pete and I are ready to read some bedtime stories. I wonder, is it nighttime where you are? I made a new friend today, and it's not nighttime where she is right now. It's daytime. Her name is Britt Ann. Hi, Britt Ann. Yeah. Thanks for coming and joining us today. Pete and I are going to start with Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I hope that everybody had a good day today, but sometimes we do have those bad days. All right. Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. This book is written by Judith Viorst and illustrated by Ray Cruz. There's Alexander. Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. This book is dedicated to Robert Lesher with love and thanks. I love how the authors dedicate the books and recognize the people that helped them write their books. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. His face says that. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. What do you think? Would you move to Australia, Malachi? I think going to Australia is very interesting. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said if I don't get a seat by the window, I am going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Look at that Volkswagen Bug, Zoya. Old-fashioned car. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. What do you think, Ronan? Can you count past 16? I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moyle was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. Boys and girls, do you think it's very nice to give your friends numbers? No, I think somebody who gives friends numbers maybe needs to think about what it means to be a real friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and lands in Australia. Sometimes when we're hurting, we try to hurt others. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. No dessert for Alexander. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia. I think they have dentists in Australia, too. Pretty sure. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot, and while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. Oh, goodness. What could Nick do instead? Do you know, Haley? I know Mallory knows what would be a good idea. While I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody, and no one even answered. Well, goodness, Paxton, do you think we should hit people when we're mad? So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes. But then the shoe man said we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. I like my white shoes. Do you have white shoes, Ellie? When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with the copy machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as could be except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Is that what your dad's office is like, Ronan, when you go to visit him? There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There were kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. Look at his face. What does his face say, Dakota? My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. I don't have railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. Even in Australia. Thanks for reading that book with me. I've got another one. This one is about bats. 5 little bats flying in the night. One flew away. Oh no, now there are only 4 bats left. What will Mother do? All right, 5 little bats flying in the night. I want to teach you the sign language sign for fly. You make the I love you sign. You hold it horizontal and you kind of just like that. Fly. 5 little bats flying in the night. This book is written by Steve Metzger and illustrated by Laura Bryant. There they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be a fun counting book. What do you think, Michael? 5 little bats flying in the night. Here we go, Zach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One flew away far out of sight. Okay. You know what's next, Luca? The mother bat called the doctor, and the doctor said, did I miss a page? Oh, no, that's right. No more bats flying in the night. She's calling upside down. I think that's silly, Emmanuel. 4 little bats flying all around. Shall we count them, Malachi? 1, 2, 3, 4. One bumped his head on the cold, hard ground. Oh, no. The mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more bats flying all around. Three little bats hanging upside down. Uno, dos, tres. Did I get it right, Pedro? Practicing Spanish. One fell off and began to frown. The mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more bats hanging upside down. And that's a telephone cord. Do you know that old phones used to have cords, Uriah? How many are left? 2 little bats nibbling on a peach. Oh, such cute fruit bats, Taryn. A nice peach. One got mad and began to screech. The mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more bats nibbling on a peach. One little bat flying near a lake. You see the bat, Riley? Flew so close to a hungry snake. Oh no, Fred! The mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, no more bats flying near a lake. Now there's no little bats flying in the sky, no little bats flying way up high. No little bats, Bubba. The mother called the doctor, and the doctor said, these must be fruit bats, Sonny. Do you think they're fruit bats? I think they might be. Let those little bats fly, fly, fly. There they are, flying off into the night. That was a fun book about bats. Thanks for counting with me, boys and girls. More time for another book, of course. This one is called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. I got a farmer here, Kramer. This book is written by Candace Fleming and G. Brian Carus. Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming and illustrated by G. Brian Carus. Could be Carus. For years, Mr. McGreeley dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it until this spring, said Mr. McGreeley. This spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. I wonder, Autumn, will you plant a garden? What about you, Jackson and Willow? Now's the time to think about it where I live. So he hoed and he sowed and he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McGreeley. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. In my family, Sam likes to get the garden ready. What about in your family, Winnie? Do you have a place for a garden? But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around its vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get in my garden now. Boys and girls, do you see the bunnies up there watching Mr. McGreely? What do you think, Skylar? Would your bunny get into the garden? And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, spring hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. Those look like some hungry bunnies. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. Humph, he huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. I don't know, boys and girls. What do you think? And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. Those bunnies are having a feast. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't go over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. What do you think, Justice? Is the bunny gonna get in? And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, dive, paddle, splash, 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 dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring, hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. I bet you knew that was gonna happen, Gabriel. Of course. Ooh. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. So he hammered and blocked and sawed and stocked and drilled and filled and trapped and locked, and he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure, he exclaimed. They can't get through it. They can't get under it. They can't go over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now. I don't know, Lori. I don't know. I think those bunnies are clever. Let's see if Mr. McGreely... Oh, and the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 stop. The three hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them, and tippy, 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 pat, the bunnies hopped away. I was surprised by that. How about you, Ben? The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. There's a happy Mr. McGreely. I beat the bunnies, he whooped and did a jiggly-wiggly victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGreely, at last, smacking his lips. He picked and pulled lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. Oh Oh, muncha, muncha, muncha. Who was in Mr. McGreely's basket? There they are sharing at the end. Well, that book is just plain fun to read. We have a friend with a birthday today. Hi, Justice. Happy birthday. Can we sing happy birthday to our friend Justice? Okay, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Justice. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Happy birthday to all you boys and girls with birthdays out there. I love you. Bye-bye.